Hi everyone, and welcome to Cooking with Cricket. Today I thought I would bring you along as I attempt to make a roasted garlic and herbed bread. Sorry that the camera's jumping. We do have a kitten and she's playing with the tripod. So a very good friend of ours, she's actually worked with Ricky for many years. We all love her to death. She asked could I make her a loaf. So I'm testing out this recipe just to see before I actually make it for her. So I'm getting my basic white bread recipe out of the King Arthur Flour Baker's Companion book. So we're going to start off with 3 cups of flour. Now I'm using bread flour, but you can use all-purpose flour. And we're going to add 2 teaspoons of instant yeast. I'm going to give that a mix. And then in this bowl I have 1 1/4 teaspoon of salt, which I'm using kosher salt, 3 tablespoons of sugar, 1/4 cup of non-fat dry milk, and 1/4 cup of potato flakes. You can use potato flour or potato flakes. I'm going to add that in and give it a mix. And now for the dried roasted garlic and herb. It's a Weber seasoning that I got. And so I'm just going to try it and see. I'm going to add a tablespoon, mix that in and see how that looks. I may have to add more. Back up. So I actually think I'm going to add 2 tablespoons just to see, because this is a testing recipe. And now I'm adding 4 tablespoons of melted butter. And I'm adding 1 1/8 cup, which is 9 ounces of lukewarm water. Now you can use your mixer and everything, but I thought we would just mix this by hand today. Now you can add more flour or more water to adjust it, but just remember that adding more flour, you're going to make your bread a little bit tough. But this does look very dry. So I am going to add just a little bit more warm water. That was actually 1/4 cup. And now I'm going to go wash my hands again, because I've touched the kitty, and start mixing. I'm just going to start mixing this by hand. And I can already smell the seasoning that we added. We want to combine all the ingredients and mix and knead them together until we've formed a soft, smooth dough. Like I say, we can adjust the consistency by adding additional flour or water as needed, but remember, you don't want to add a lot of flour. This actually looks good. It's not really sticking or anything, so I am going to remove it from the bowl and start kneading it. Kind of pulling it, bringing it in on itself, pushing it out, turning it, bringing it in, pushing it out. And we're going to do this. It could take up to 5 minutes. And if it starts to get real sticky, we can always sprinkle on just a little bit more flour just to help with that. I'm going to do this until it gets real soft and springy. It's not going to be real soft feeling because we have the herbs in there and the garlic and stuff. But I'll bring you back when it's ready. Okay, I can feel the texture changing. It's real smooth, it's not sticking, bounces back, so I'm going to form it into a ball. Now it just says to cover and let this rise for an hour. It won't actually be doubled, but until it's like good and puffy, but not actually doubled in bulk. But I'm going, it's real hot here today, very hot, but I'm going to put a little oil in my bowl keep it from sticking, because the next step we're supposed to turn it out on an oiled surface, so it will already be oiled. And I'm going to put mine in the oven just with the oven light on, so I don't have to cover it. But if you're going to leave it out on your counter, make sure that you cover it. Put it in top side first, swirl it around, make sure it's good and covered with the oil. So I'll see you back in about an hour until it's doubled a little bit and puffy. But you want to keep it away from drafts, and the reason why I'm putting it in my oven, because it is hot and I got ceiling fans and all going. So in the oven with just the oven light on. Alright, my dough has risen for an hour, and you can tell that it's risen and it's puffy. So now we're to transfer it to a lightly oiled surface, shape it into an 8-inch log, but I'm doing something different. I'm going to make it two ways, one in a small loaf pan. This is about a 8.5 by 4.5. And then I'm going to do a free-form loaf, so I have a pan lined with some parchment paper. So I am going to put a little oil, brush a little oil on my table. It's clean. I just sanitized it real good. And two, the bread is oiled because it was in an oiled bowl. I'm going to punch it down. I'll take it out. Now I'm going to cut it in half. And for the loaf pan, I'm going to shape it to like a rectangle. And tightly just roll it up. Pinch the ends closed real good. You want that to seal. And the ends, just bring those in. Fold it over and pinch it shut. We want the top of it to be very smooth. Now put this in my lightly oiled loaf pan. Press it down. See, it's not so smooth right there, but it'll be alright. This is a test loaf. And cover this and let it rise again for an hour. But again, I'm putting it in my oven with just the oven light on. And for my free-form loaf, I'm going to do the same thing. Roll it up. Pinch it closed. Now back in my oven with just the oven light on for an hour. Alright, I had my bread in the oven rising, but I took it out to preheat my oven to 350 degrees. Mine takes about 8 to 10 minutes. So we need to cook this for 35 to 40 minutes. Now I know that that's the cooking time if it was in a bigger loaf pan, but still should take about the right amount of time. But if it starts browning up too much before you think your bread's done, and there's a nice hollow sound when you tap it, you can start tinning it with full during the last few minutes of it, about the 10-15 minutes of it. But I'll let you know about how long mine took. And then I'll bring you back when it's done. You can smell the roasted garlic. Now I might have too much in here, but we're just testing it to see. Alright, the bread baked for 35 minutes. I did tint it with some full. We're supposed to remove it so you can kind of hear that thump. We're supposed to remove it to a wire rack and let it cool completely. So once it cools completely, I'll bring you back. After it cools a little bit for about 15 minutes, you can brush it with some melted butter to make the crust softer. I might not do that. Alright, my bread has cooled enough to try it. Now I can tell that the edges, that the smaller loaves won't need to cook as long because they are kind of crusty. But that's alright. This is just a test loaf. And it's like that on the loaf too. The edges are a little bit crusty. Are a little bit hard. So we won't have to let them cook as long if I decide to go with this recipe. I don't know if you can see that good. The bread looks beautiful. Now I'm going to cut a slice from the loaf part and then I'll try it. The crumb is just beautiful. Alright, let me try a bite. It's really good. I'm going to try just the inside piece too, where I can get a lot of those herbs that I can see in there. I was afraid that the 2 tablespoons would have been too much because I could really smell it, but it actually has a good taste to it. It has a really, it's not real strong and it's not overpowering, but you can tell there's something in it. But I really like it. And I think I'm going to let others try this too to see if that's good. Thanks for watching. Thanks for coming along with me as I turned on the camera to try to make this. And I think this is the recipe that I will go with. I'll put the recipe and all in the description box below. If you like this type of video, please give me a thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. Comment, because I do love hearing from you. And make sure you hit the subscribe and the notification bell so you can be notified when I upload another video. But until my next video, I hope you enjoy. Bye, y'all.